Greetings, fellow hunters. Sorry about how I look. And how I might sound. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, but anyway. So, Supernatural Summer 25 now continues off with the next episode of Supernatural Season 5 that we'll be looking at, which is The End. So, let's take a look at it. This episode begins as Dean parks in front of a hotel in Kansas City as a sidewalk preacher tries to reach passerby. As Dean enters the hotel, the man approaches him and asks if he has thought about God's plan for him. Too freaking much, pal, he replies and pushes past him. Inside his room, he discusses with Castiel on the phone about how the demons keeping the cold makes no sense. They surely would have melted down by now, but Castiel is sure that it is about. Castiel is sure that it is about, and that finding it is the only way they can kill Lucifer, but they are still intent upon in the insane task of trying to do so. Castiel gets Dean's location once to meet immediately, but Dean demands that he leave it for at least 4 hours. His sister was raised 16 hours and needs rest. Cass, standing on the roadside, relents and says he will wait. Later that night, Dean's phone buzzes and he picks up expecting to be an anxious Castiel. Instead, it's a panicked Sam. He tells him that Lucifer has approached him and declared him as his vessel. Dean is not surprised as he tells the confused Sam it's not the weirdest thing he has heard. Brushing it off, Sam must redeem himself and resume hunting with Dean so that they can hunt Lucifer together. However, Dean and Sam resolve that they are better hunters separately than they are as a team, especially now that it is revealed that they are the fire and oil of the Armageddon, the chosen but unwilling vessels of heaven and hell. They should probably pick different hemispheres to live in. He reminds Sam that the players in control will always use their devotion to each other against him to reach their own ends. Sam begs him to reconsider, insisting they can defeat them, but Dean cheerfully refuses and hangs up on him. Aww. Dean wakes up in a trashed out hotel room, confused. Looks out the broken window and sees that Kansas City has been laid to waste. There are no other people around. Leaves the hotel on foot to explore the rest of the city, encountering no one until he comes across a little girl cowering in an alley. He approaches her slowly, asking if she has lost her herd, but she suddenly growls and jumps at him, swinging a shard of glass. Dean reflexively swings and knocks her unconscious. He turns and sees a red Croatoan painted in red on a brick wall. Dread comes over his face. Just a small army of Croatoan-infected people come around the corner and begin to chase him through the destroyed city. He eventually runs into a dead end, and just before they descend upon him, a military unit appears and opens fire, barely missing Dean, allowing him time to escape into an alley. Night falls and he emerges from his hiding place. He sees a military warning sign on the fence designating Kansas City as a Croatoan virus hot zone. It's dated August 1st, 2014. He is confused. He wires an abandoned car and speeds off. He tries to find a cell signal or even a radio station. Zachariah teleports into the car, much to Dean's dismay. I thought I was one of your sting on this Back to the Future crap, Dean snarls. Dean has arrived with the newspaper and languidly begins reading the horrible headlines aloud. Croatoan pandemic reaches Australia. President Palin defends the bombing of Houston. There are no more sports because what's left of Congress has revoked the right of public assembly. Dean wants to know how he found him. He has a Nokian sigil etched in his rib cage. Zachariah mockingly admits that they've had to resort to an unorthodox method of using human informants. They also made inspirational visits, complete with Dean's image, to some members of the fringier Christian groups. Dean came across a sidewalk preacher that approached him as he entered the hotel. Dean demands he send him back to 2009, but Zachariah says he wants him to remain in the future for 3 days because he needs to see the state the world will be in if he continues to refuse to be Michael's vessel. Zachariah vanishes. Dean arrives at Bobby's place. It is in shambles, and finds Bobby's wheelchair tipped over with bloody bullet holes in it. He goes to the secret hiding place of Bobby's journal and finds a picture of several men with shotguns. Bobby casts among them, pausing beside the welcome sign to Kim Chatikwa, however that's pronounced. He goes to the camp under cover of darkness and eludes the guards at the gate. He recognizes his drugged-out baby among the vehicles in the camp, and the company swoops in to inspect the damage to her and mourns his beloved car. When he does, a figure approaches him from behind and knocks him unconscious with one blow. Now Dean awakens, finds himself cuffed to a fixed ladder, and future Dean staring him across the room. What the hell? Now Dean mutters. Future Dean is just confused. He tells Dean from the past that he has searched him and used all the known methods to check his supernatural creature while he was knocked out, so he knows he's not one. But he wants an explanation as to why now Dean has every single tool and trick on his person future Dean carries, and, most of all, he wants to know why they share such a striking resemblance. Now Dean explains that he's been transported into 2014 of his timeline from the year 2009 of his own, courtesy of Zachariah. Future Dean so believes Zachariah would do that and asks about him, but now Dean doesn't know and just wants to go back to his time. So skeptical, Future Dean challenges Now Dean to tell him something only he would know. Now Dean recalls that when they were 19, Wanda Hurley made them try their pink sanity panties and that he kind of liked it. Future Dean cracks a little smile and says, "Touche." He discussed the demon's endgame to finish off the human race with the Corona virus. Now Dean asks about Sam. Future Dean tells him there was a heavyweight showdown in Detroit and that, from what he understands, Sam didn't make it. Now Dean looks sad and somewhat ashamed to learn that he wasn't with him at the time and that he hadn't spoken to Sam in the 5 years prior to the showdown. He asks Future Dean if they ever tried to find him. Future Dean gloomily replies that he's got other people to worry about. Future Dean has a mission to do and leaves Now Dean shackled. Eventually, Now Dean manages to claw Neil out of the wood flooring and free himself from his cuffs. He tries to sneak out of the compound but is approached by Chuck, who necessarily asks him for guidance about dwindling perishable and hygiene supplies for the community. The Fluster Now Dean suggests that they maybe share. Chuck is confused by his answer, but still remembers and queries, "Are you supposed to be on a mission right now?" Now Dean, so Fluster says yes. It was just on his way to the mission. Before he can turn to go, Razor approaches him from behind and takes a purposeful swing at him, followed by a kick. Dean leaps behind Chuck, using him as a shield from further abuse. Razor thinks that Future Dean spent time in another woman's cabin the night before. She angrily departs. Dean recovers and asks Chuck if Cass is still in the camp. Chuck laughingly says, "Yeah, but he doesn't think Cass is going anywhere." Dean finds Future Castiel in his cabin and half Lotus, uttering nonsense at the head of a circle of entranced women. Dean sees Castiel submit and, referring to Dean as their fearless leader, tells ladies he needs to confer with him, and suggesting that they all go get washed up for the orgy. Castiel stretches as they exit. "What, are you a hippie?" says Now Dean. As you're irritated about being labeled by Dean again, Cass turns and immediately recognizes that the Dean in front of him is from another time. Castiel knows it was only Zachariah who could have done such a thing. Dean, mistakenly believing that Cass could simply whisk him back to his proper time, tells him to do so. When Cass giggles at this request, Dean asks him if he's stoned. He replies, "Generally, yeah." Future Dean returns to camp with his fellow hunters, and the men follow out of the jeep. The crowd appears a celebration of returning from a successful mission. As Now Dean walks toward them, Future Dean raises his gun and shoots a member of his hunting party in the head. Now Dean screams out, horrified. Everyone else is just horrified at the sight of another Dean. Future Dean assures all onlookers that while the situation is obviously messed up, he'll inform them anything they need to know when they need to know it. Furious, Future Dean shoves Now Dean back into his cabin, and think about which was more disturbing for the twitchy survivors in the community, seeing their leader killing them in cold blood, or watching him converse with his clone. Future Dean finds out that he recognized the signs of infection in the man, and these times, killing the Croatoan infected, Croats, is commonplace. Seeing their leader debate with his clone, however, is so much more likely to freak people out. Future warns down to back off because this is not his time. Now Dean backs down and apologizes. Future accepts his apology and then pours drinks for them. Now Dean asks about the mission they went on. Future Dean reveals the cold Now Dean thought it was long gone, but Future Dean tells him that the demons have been moving it around as much as they could. But after 5 years of searching, he finally found it. Tonight, he says, "I'm going to kill the devil." Future Dean has a meeting with Riza, Castiel, and his past self. Riza is skeptical about the capabilities of the cult and about the prospects of finding Lucifer's whereabouts. Future Dean says the demon they captured last week was an important member of Lucifer's entourage and that he revealed Lucifer's location. Riza assumes that a demon would be honest, but Dean assures her that the intel is correct. Castiel informs that the Dean is all too well schooled in the art of getting to the truth. Now Dean voices discuss that Future Dean has resorted to torture. Future Dean shows a map of the area they'll be raiding in order to get to Lucifer. Castiel points out that it's a hot zone, filled with croats and demons, suggesting that rushing up the drive is a bit reckless. Future Dean sternly asks Cass if he's coming. He says of course he is, but asks Future Dean why he's allowing Now Dean to go. Future refuses an answer, only show that he is coming. Cass gives up the debate, and he and Arisa leave together to find the other soldiers. Now Dean is also curious as to why his future self wants him to go along. Future Dean finally reveals that he wants now to see what happened to Sam. Now Dean thought the Future's earlier statement that Sam didn't make it out of the showdown in Detroit meant that Sam was dead. Future Dean reveals that Sam didn't die, but he did say the big yes to becoming Lucifer's vessel. Now after everything, he realizes he has to kill his brother. Future Dean then begs Now Dean to say yes to be Michael's vessel whenever Zacharias stabs him back. Now Dean protests, saying the battle would ensue would torch half the planet. Future Dean points out that half a planet would be better than no planet, which is what they have now. Now Dean asks why, then he didn't just say yes eventually. Future says he tried to, but by the time he was willing to, the angels had already given up and bailed. Now Dean is still adamant that there must be another way. Future Dean sadly realizes they will not convince Now Dean to submit. As the team departs, Chuck, who stays behind, tries to impart upon Now Dean how important it is to start hoarding toilet paper as soon as he gets back to 2009. Now Dean writes shotgun with Castiel. He's curious about why the historically uptight Castiel is now all about sex, drugs, etc. Castiel says he's no longer an angel, and he knows it has something to do with the other angels bailing on Earth. His angel mojo just drained away. He misses being an angel and is depressed about it, but figures a bit of decadence is in order, considering the state of things. The next morning, the group arrives in a city torn down by the infection. They search and finally locate the building they need to break into. Future Dean and Riza and Castiel prepare their weapons. Future Dean tells the team to go in through a second-story window. Riza voices concerned by the game plan, and she and Cass exchange glances. But Future Dean tells them to trust him. They'll never see us coming. Now Dean senses something is amiss and pulls Future away for a talk. He tells Future that he can tell he's lying to everyone. He's seen his lying expressions in the mirror. Now Dean threatens to take his concerns to the rest of the team. Future Dean finally admits that he knows the path to Lucifer is a trap. Plans to use the team as a front door diversion while he sneaks in the back way. Now Dean is mortified that Future will sacrifice his friends, including Castiel, as a means to an end. Future puts to him that sentiment is part of what got the planet into the state it's in now. His job is to kill Lucifer and save what's left of the planet, and that's what he intends to do. Now Dean tries to stop him, but Future Dean knocks him unconscious. Now Dean wakes up to sight of a gunfight from the second floor. He runs around the building, just as he shares with his counterpart, who is pinned by Lucifer in Sam's body with his foot. Lucifer then snaps Future Dean's neck, killing before he turns to see the other horrified Dean, whose appearance surprises him before he calmly greets him. Lucifer approaches Dean, who asks Lucifer why he doesn't just kill him now too. Lucifer looks at the body of Future Dean and says that it would be redundant. Lucifer says he realizes how traumatizing it must be for Dean to see him in his brother's body, but it's the only things could have turned out. He tries to put his hand on Dean's shoulder, but the latter steps back and accuses him of wanting to defry the planet. Lucifer says he doesn't want to destroy the beautiful, last perfect handiwork of God. And CS is sort of proof that he was right about mankind. He tells about his fall from grace. Lucifer says he loved God completely, when the God created humans and commanded the angels to love them even more. Lucifer asserts that his only crime was his absolute refusal to bow down to man and to love the flood of murderous little hairless apes more than he loved God. He doesn't believe that God charging Michael to cast him into hell was a punishment befitting his crime. Demon tries that he's not buying Lucifer's sympathy for the devil crap. The only difference between him and the monsters that he's been hunting and killing his whole life is the size of his ego. Lucifer smiles and declares that he likes him. He gets what the other angels see in him. Lucifer says goodbye. We'll meet again soon, and starts to walk away. Dean shouts after him that he should kill him now or else Dean won't stop till he finds a way to kill him. Lucifer replies he's well aware that he will try, and he knows he will not say yes to Michael, and he knows that he will never kill Sam. But no matter what choices or details Dean changes, Lucifer says, the two of them always end up where they are right now. Lucifer calls it his win. Regardless of the changes, Dean tearfully tells him that he's wrong. Lucifer gives him another condescending smile and says, see you in 5 years, Dean. He vanishes as Dean turns to Zechariah, who promptly zaps Dean back to his Casey hotel room in 2009. Back to his time, Dean is not pleased to see the angel who ends his rant by making another appeal to him. He's seen what's going to happen, and he's the only one who can prove the devil wrong. Just say yes. Dean is not convinced that what he just experienced was not just the latest Zechariah's trickery, riddling ways. Zechariah says that the time for tricks is over. Dean needs to give himself to Michael before billions die, and before Lucifer gets to Sam. Dean is anguished and appears ready to give in. Then Sister John says, nah, Zachariah is shocked. You're telling me you haven't learned your lesson? Dean replies they did indeed learn a lesson, only it was the one that Zachariah had intended to teach. Zachariah's eraser threatens to teach it again. As he moves toward Dean, declaring that he's got him where he wants him and will never let him go, before Castiel zaps Dean to his location, to Zachariah's fury. Still standing on the roadside in the dark, Castiel looks to his shock, then relieved Dean, who compliments Castiel's excellent timing. Castiel replies that they had an appointment. Dean lays hand on his angel friend's shoulder and tells him, "Don't ever change." Castiel asks how Zachariah located Dean. He tells him it's a long story, but they should steer clear of his witnesses from now on. He takes his phone and starts to dial. Castiel's way doing, he replies, "Something I should have done in the first place." As he leans against Baby at an off-road stop, Sam drives up to meet him. Sam gets out and approaches Dean, looks so wary. Dean produces Ruby's knife and says that if he wants back in, he should have it because he's probably rusty. Dean apologizes to Sam. Even though they might be each other's Achilles' heel, he says, all they've got is each other, and they need to stick together to keep each other human. They said that they will make their own future. Hey. So anyway, let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. The main rally god previously appeared in Sympathy for the Devil. Sam and Dean are still separate until the end of the episode. The cult returns in this episode. Future Dean attempts to kill Lucifer with the cult but fails. Sam and Dean will attempt to do the same later in the present, but also fail because Lucifer is immune to the cult. Sam tells Dean of him being Lucifer's vessel, which he learned him free to be you and me. The Croatoan was first introduced in Croatoan. This is the first time Sam was seen as Lucifer, although the main universe Sam was not possessed by the form until Swan Song. And now let's take a look at some trivia from this episode. In the scenes with future Dean and present Dean, Joseph performed with stunt double Todd Scott. Another actor was initially hired to do it, but it didn't work out. This is one of only 3 episodes in season 5 where Lucifer is not portrayed by Mark Pellegrino. The other is Sympathy for the Devil. There was mixed opinion among fans as to whether the future shown here is real or merely constructed by Zachariah to persuade Dean to become Michael's vessel. Commentary on 504 at the end on the season 5 DVD by Ben Inland and Eric Kripke supports that this is an alternate universe model rather than time travel. On Twitter, Ben Inland said that in his mind, the end universe is an alternate reality, similar to that in The French Mistake. This would make the place Dean is taken to by Zachariah a potential future of an alternate reality. The future version of Dean was not wearing his amulet Sam gave him. It's possible this is because he disposed of it when he lost Sam. Interestingly, later on in the season, the present Dean disposes of the amulet. This episode is very popular in the fandom. At one point, Dean says, "You're not fooling me, you know what? With the Sympathy for the Devil crap, I know what you are." Sympathy for the Devil is the name of the song by the Rolling Stones and the title of the season 5 premiere. The filming of this episode started on August 6th and ended on the 18th. When Dean was looking out the window, the theater sign said, "Now playing Route 666. Route 666 was the name of a season 1 episode. The scene where Dean meets a Croatoan infected little girl is very similar to the popular zombie apocalyptic TV series The Walking Dead, where the start of the season 1 premiere, main protagonist Rick Grimes calls out to a little girl who turns out to be a zombie. Interestingly, both little girls have teddy bears. And now finally, let's take a look at an error from this episode. Dean is not wearing his ring when he meets future Chuck / is confronted by Reza. The ring is back in his finger when he's talking with future cast moments later. So I think this is a pretty interesting episode, and yeah, I'm just glad that Sam and Dean finally got back together at the end of this episode because I couldn't stand them being apart for that long, so yeah. So overall, I give the end 5 Impalas out of 5. But anyway, tune in until next episode, Fallen Idols. So, until then, carry on, my wayward sons and daughters.